Hare Krishna. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are doing well. In today's video, we are going to discuss the spiritual and the astrological reasons why people copy you, its consequences, and how to develop your own authenticity and how to deal with it also. This can also be considered as influencer astrology because the influencer career is on the rise and it involves a lot of people copying the same person or hopping onto a trend. So that aspect will also be covered in this video. Apart from that, this video is going to be different from my other videos. First of all, I've got my face over here after a long time, and I'll be sharing some personal insights and personal experiences which are best conveyed in a face-to-face manner. So I decided to come on the camera after a long time. Secondly, after a lot of thought, I've decided to finally, incorporate my astrological insights which I've been studying for a long time and introduce this concept also on my channel. So I hope you like it, and let's begin. So when someone is being copied, the other person feels really uncomfortable, right? As if someone is stealing pieces of you, things that made you unique are now everywhere, and you have to run your brains again to come up with new ideas to make yourself feel unique again, right? But when we look at the act of copying each other through a spiritual or a psychological aspect, then we'll understand that it's less about you and more about the other person. Because the first spiritual reason is unconscious activation. Your presence, your energy sometimes activates the dormant gifts and talents in another person who can relate to you, and therefore their talent uncovers through copying you. So I'll give you an example. Like when I was in school, there was this guy who loved to doodle around, and he used to make notes through doodling. Like he used to make chemistry, biology and physics. Every note which we used to write, he used to draw something related to it, and it was very unique to him. And soon what happens is that it became really popular, and people started noticing his notes, and everyone in the classroom started doodling. They started doodling, and it was like a nightmare for the guy because that was a unique aspect to his personality. Now it's not like everybody had the art aspect, but obviously because they had some appreciation related to art and his uniqueness, that's why they also started doodling their notes. But the thing is they cannot continue that doodling thing because it is not something that they are supposed to do. It's something they've taken from another person. They've taken someone else's essence, but obviously they appreciate the talent, and in their own broken way they start doodling their notes also. But obviously they won't continue for long, and soon that trend was it faded away simply. Let's take another example. For example, a team member or someone who is naturally good at orating, they present their ideas in a very clear fashion. They use voice, high pitch, low pitch, voice intonation. They also use a lot of hand gestures, and that sort of presentation gets a lot of appreciation from others. And the other people in the meeting, they find it fascinating and they like the style. And but instead of developing their own communication style, they start borrowing that person's style. So they start imitating the hand gestures. They start using the same voice. For example, there is an astrologer who comes, who uses a really low tone of voice, and he sits at the back in a very chill manner, and he has a very specific type of tone in which he gives astrological insights. And many men started copying that intonation, and it was success. They obviously developed a good sense of oration through that imitation. Obviously it is contributing to their development also. So the thing is, the intention here is not wrong, but instead of developing their own individuality, people are borrowing the other person's activation. So their presence is actually activating something in them, something which is already inside them, which is there, which is wanting to come out. So the presence of someone can actually trigger someone else's talent. The second reason why people copy you is spiritual amnesia. When people see you, they see a part of themselves they were once, so they can relate to you, and therefore it reminds them who they were once. Sometimes your light feels familiar to the other person. They see something which they had long buried, and because you become a trigger, and that passion they had buried, or that energy, that light they had buried long ago, it reignites, because that is their sole purpose. So you are reigniting someone else's passion, someone who they were supposed to be, but because of some reason they lost that spark, they lost that passion, and you remind them of their passion. So an example is that, suppose you were, spiritual from the very beginning, from, at a young age you had a hard life probably that made you spiritual, or whatever reasons your family was spiritual, and because of that you were spiritual from the very beginning. So a friend of yours sees you are enjoying your spiritual growth. So one day what happens is, you see, they start mimicking your words. They start using the words alignment, manifestation, or vibration, soul vibe, all those big words. You think that that is, a degradation of the concept. But your energy probably ignited something they actually wanted to pursue for a long time. They wanted to become that sort of person, the person you are currently. They wanted to be that sort of person, but because of so and so reason they were not able to do, and so they start mimicking you. Soon what will happen is that through that mimicry they will come into the field of spirituality. They will start their journey into spirituality. So that's actually a good karma for you. So deep inside, that person is supposed to walk on a similar path like yours. You are just a small spark, a small star, a small initiation. You're helping the other person to reach their spiritual destiny. This also happens when we are in love, or we are married to our partner. So unconsciously what happens is that, partners start imitating each other. They start mimicking each other. They start copying each other's lifestyle choices, diet choices, spiritual practices. And it is not because, they want to copy. The intention is not wrong over there, but there is a part of them which already wanted to do this. There is a part of them which already wanted to do this for a long time, and their partner's light is actually helping them to regain that sort of lifestyle. So they wanted to be healthy for a long time, so they get a partner who is into gymming, who's into a lot of healthy habits. So this becomes a reason why they start incorporating their habits in their own lifestyle. They start taking their fashion choices. There is this effect, we say that the girlfriend effect. The boyfriend start dressing, even more better than before, and we call it the girlfriend effect. The thing is, they've always wanted to be that way, right? They wanted to look good always. The girlfriend becomes that impulse, that stimulus making things happen. The third type of people who copy you are low self-worth people. Someone who doesn't know about themselves, who haven't developed their own identity, will latch on to others' identity. It's not always malicious. Sometimes it's merely a survival instinct. Because they don't know who they are. They're simply lost. So they start imitating, they start mimicking someone's speech, someone's style. They're borrowing someone's fashion sense, even someone's career goals. They start copying that because they don't know who they are, what their own individuality is. They feel lost without it, and that is not their fault. Probably soon, with personal growth, they will develop their own individuality, or sometimes they simply lack self-worth and they cannot. Now celebrities get copied on a large extent. People copy the K-pop idols, People copy the Katrina Kaif hairstyle. There's a lot of things which become trend. People become trendsetters, and trends get copied on a large basis. Now there is always this one kid in the school who's always copying the popular kids slangs, the hobbies, the sports they play. They simply copy because they feel lost without it, not because they like basketball or they like swimming. They don't know what they like, so they simply hop on to the popular, what is popular, they hop onto that. But that unconscious copying can also lead to their own career. It can also open a path to what they actually love. They can also discover what they actually love and what kind of career path they want to be on. Imitating and copying really helps. Even in bhakti it is told that bhakts, even when they're pretending, they're at least pretending, they're trying, right? With pretending, soon that becomes your identity. You should not ride someone else's certainty just because you don't have developed or discovered your own. The next reason why people copy is for validation. People see that the other person is getting validated, getting appreciation for some of their talents, some of their passion, something that they are doing. So they simply think that if we also start doing the same thing, then we'll get the appreciation and the validation which they are getting, right? It is something similar to how people start working for the algorithm, right? On the internet, we copy each other thinking we'll get the same monetary benefits, same validation, same appreciation, same viral content. So if we start copying each other, and sometimes it happens also. But the thing is, you cannot continue something which you're not passionate about for a long period. The other person will simply get will simply enjoy the work because they're not working for the validation or appreciation. Both of these are a byproduct for simply the karma they are doing. But the other person will lose their interest soon because that's not their passion. So sometimes the reason is as simple as wanting monetary benefits, validation, appreciation, some sort, viral factor, or so we simply copy each other on the internet for more likes. In reality, for bosses appreciation, teachers appreciation, students copy each other to get the teachers validation. So that's one thing. The next reason why people copy you is simply because of energetic envy. You are probably appreciated in a group because of your uniqueness. Now another person comes with a similar or near to identical outfit like yours. Why? Because they do not appreciate you, but because they simply cannot stand that you stand out in the group. People are applauding you. They cannot stand it, and therefore their negativity, they show that in the form of copying you and then also discrediting you. Such people are in some sort of competition with you in their heads, and if you also start competing with them, then RIP your mental health. People should not be copying each other and making random competition. You're not in a competition with each other, you're in competition with your own self. The last reason why people copy you is the mirror effect. It is because you reflect the other person's unhealed wounds and also the untapped potential or greatness. Sometimes people copy you because you remind them of their own unresolved issues. The way probably you are expressing yourself, your storytelling might be helping someone else who is struggling with self-expression. You shine in the very area they feel insecure. Imitation becomes a way of trying to reclaim what they've already lost. For example, you're a bold person, you have bold choices of clothes, or you've got a confident personality, you can simply say no to the other person easily. So a person who is aspiring to become like you, who is aspiring to be as confident as you, simply starts imitating you to heal that part of themselves. If they cannot express themselves boldly and confidently, they start using your words, they start using your speech styles, so that they come across more confident in comparison to their insecure selves. So that becomes a journey of healing their own traumas. You become the catalyst and they simply imitate you to overcome and heal that part of themselves. Being copied often feels frustrating, but it's not that deep. When we look at it through a spiritual perspective, we understand that it's not actually very personal, but it's more about the other person's growth and even your growth, because it forces you to create new ideas from existing ideas, and no idea is actually original. So whatever you're doing is probably being done by someone else at some point of time, and all ideas have somewhere, inspired each other. In Bhagavad Gita, there's a beautiful shlok which mentions, just as one lamp ignites the other lamp without losing its brilliance, the awakened soul helps others in realizing their own potential, awakening them and enlightening them. So it's actually a good thing that people are copying you, because you are contributing to their personal growth, and that will be included in your good karma. Now let's discuss some of the astrological yogas which make people copy you. You have to look at your Vedic or sidereal chart. So the first yoga which is found in the chart of someone who usually gets copied, or an influencer's chart, is Jupiter Moon connection. Either the angular connection or sambandh. They are making some sort of sambandh. Moon in the sign of Jupiter aspected by Jupiter, or Jupiter in the sign of Moon aspected by Moon, or Jupiter or Moon exchanging their houses. That is Jupiter in the house of Moon and Moon in the house of Jupiter. So this is exchange or Parivartan Yoga, we can call it. So these are some sort of, we call it Gaja Kesari or Kesari yogas. It is very common in an influencer's chart. Let's take first Moon in the sign of Jupiter, either in Sagittarius or Pisces, aspected by Jupiter. So what happens is that, because Moon is in the sign of Jupiter, Jupiter is very expansive in nature, it is very optimistic in nature, it is very dharmic. Jupiter is a dharmic planet. It has its own belief system, own faith, and it is very expansive in nature. It is very broad-minded. So a person with Moon in Sagittarius or Pisces in the sign of Jupiter, what happens is that that person is very optimistic in nature. Such a person is pure-hearted and they have a naturally radiant aura. They attract people's respect on its own, because Jupiter gets respect. It has wisdom. Such people also have higher sort of wisdom. They've got some elevated sort of knowledge which is very deep and enlightening to the people. And so even though people may not agree with them, but they will start following their speech styles, their belief system, their faith system, because the knowledge they share is something deep which the soul is actually longing for. So the things such people share is very wholesome. It's not just outwardly, it feeds the soul. So such people also, attract a lot of jealousy because of their values. In the second case, when Jupiter is in the sign of Moon, that is Cancer aspecting the Moon. So such people are natural healers, they are guides, they are teachers. So teachers are automatically supposed to be the moral compass of the society, the moral compass for a student. So teachers normally get imitated a lot. So that is one thing. The next is Parivartan Yoga, that is exchanging of houses. When Moon is in Pisces or Sagittarius and Jupiter is in Cancer or vice versa, it creates a Parivartan Yoga or exchange yoga. What happens is that both the planets mutually empower each other. Next is it creates a feedback loop of wisdom and emotional fulfillment, a kind of balance. Fame. This gives enormous fame to the person, enormous popularity and enormous respect in the society. Such people are prone to being copied on a large scale. People copy their style, their mannerisms, their outlook, everything is being copied here. So why these people get copied a lot? Because Moon is mind, Moon is popularity, Moon is emotion, Emotion wants to be heard. They want to be understood. Moon wants to be understood. Moon wants to be accepted by whole lot of people. They want the attention. Moon wants validation. Emotion wants validation. They want someone to understand, and therefore the moon looks for popularity. And Jupiter here is the sattva tattva, right? The higher wisdom, the good qualities, the qualities which are appreciated in this world. More so, the people who are manipulative by nature, evil by nature, they are more attracted to such people. Why? Because they cannot comprehend that feeling. Obviously, if we had the chance to become famous the right way, nobody wants to be infamous, right? People want to be famous in today's time because of monetary gains. But if they were given a chance to become famous in the right way, they will obviously choose the right way, right? The dharmic path. But because they are not getting it, it is not appreciated in this world, so they choose whatever comes their way. So manipulative people, what happens is that they are unable to understand the goodness in the other person, so they get attracted to such people. So these people attract a lot of jealousy and envy from other people, and negative energy also. They are prone to that. It's not the fault of the bad person or the evil person, because the thing is, if karma and circumstances allowed them, they'd obviously choose peace too. They'd obviously choose the right path too. But their circumstances probably don't allow, or their consciousness, they're not developed enough. Their karma doesn't allow them to become the good person. But deep down, they long for the peace that the other person has. So energetically, they envy such people. Here, the shadow self concept also comes into play, which I've discussed in one of my videos. I'll just tag it somewhere. You can watch it. Let's come back to the astrological yogas. The next yoga is having prominent nodes, Rahu-Ketu. A person who is very popular, who can become an influencer, or someone who naturally gets copied in a small group, or who is a trendsetter, will have prominent nodes position. In first house, 7 house, 1, 7, 4, 10. These are the common houses. Also 5th and 11th. This node position is very common when it comes to popularity. So the nodes behave like viruses. They carry the energy like that of virus. A virus is subtle, it is unseen, it impacts a lot of people, and it spreads so fast. So the nodes, especially Rahu, is responsible for popularity. So unless and until a virus has already affected a large number of people, we do not get to know its presence. It never shows itself directly. Similar to Rahu, who is also symbolic of illusion, smoke, something which is not visible, something which is not clear, something, the reason which is not known. So virus, the word viral comes from virus, something which explodes. COVID-19 was spread via virus. So it spread on such a large scale and it was explosive, right? That's the effect of Rahu. Rahu gives immense popularity, and it is sudden, it's explosive. And 2019 was the official timeline from where the ordinary people started getting popular. Ordinary people thought that it was easier than ever to become popular on the internet. The concept of virality was introduced to us at that time. So in today's time, people think it's very easy to get popular on the internet. To get viral on the internet, it is very easy. But there are very less people who are actually making a living out of internet popularity, right? Because but everyone thinks that it's very easy. I can also become popular, right? This is Rahu. It gives an illusion. Not everyone can become popular. Not everyone can sustain their career on the internet. Yes, people can who have Rahu prominent in their charts. Now Rahu was also born out of infiltration. In one of my Mahapurana video, I've mentioned how Rahu came into existence. He portrayed himself as a Devta, Swarnabhanu, right? So that is infiltration. So he's pretending to be something he's not. So That is why it is said that Rahu exaggerates, multiplies, and distorts vision. But not everyone gets popular, but it gives the thought in their mind that they can become popular. It gives an illusion to them. Why they cannot become popular is because we have the existence of Ketu. What Ketu does, just the opposite of what Rahu does. Ketu breaks down structures, it fragments, mutates, and evolves people. So Ketu evolves a person. Wherever it is sitting in the chart, it will force the person to evolve themselves in that particular aspect. Therefore, when Rahu gives an illusion that everyone can become popular, Ketu gives an algorithm that you cannot become popular without deciphering that particular algorithm. You cannot influence the other person unless and until you know your own self. People who get popular on the internet are those people who are authentically themselves. Only original people sustain their career on the internet. Therefore, Ketu makes sure that you understand yourself first. You decipher your own personality first. When you know about yourself, only then you can influence the other person. A successful influencer is someone who is great in his or her field. They are, if not great, they are at least topmost in their categories. So that we call as a successful influencer. A great sportsman, a great actor, someone who has cleared some exams, a great artist, right? Someone who has built their own loyal audience by being their authentic selves. There is a credibility, originality involved with the successful influencer. Someone who gives fake reviews, a person, the public won't follow them for long, right? We follow someone because we know that that person is trustworthy, that is a credible person, we can trust their judgment. Only then we are following a particular influencer, right? So that means a successful influencer is someone who knows what they are, what they like, they are certain about themselves, and they're following their own dharma, that is swadharma in the spiritual aspects. Also, they're taking time to perfect themselves. Swadhyay, they are introspecting their lifestyles, their choices, and therefore that makes them worthy of being followed or copied. Another important aspect is that a virus is not alive, right? Social media is not alive. It is not something living, but obviously it is giving you physical benefits, right? Similar to the shadow planets, Rahu and Ketu, the nodes. They are not actually, directly participating in your life, but they are obviously giving you material benefits. Just like social media, you're doing something non-material, but it's giving you material benefits. So that means that it also has the capability to push collective karma. That means something non-material has the capability to create karma. Now the karma can be positive or negative. So there are people who are famous and there are people who are famous for the right reasons. That all depends on your own individuality or how you perceive things. So somewhere someone is watching my video and I don't know how it is impacting them, transforming them or changing them. But my video is making some impact on that person. I'm creating a ripple and somewhere in a foreign land watches my video and it makes them not to give up on themselves yet. They find something relatable in me or in my video. Someone gets a creative idea from my video. Someone gets some monetary benefit from my video. They get an idea and boom, they generate some income through my idea. So somewhere your work or my work is creating an impact and it is giving a purpose to another person who probably had none. That impact is positive and will be counted in your positive karma. The same is true for negative karma. Not just social media, there is far more pathetic content which is on the internet. They are reaping material benefits from such sort of content. So there will be material consequences also. There will be physical consequences also. either in this life or afterlife. That's not for me to decide. The fourth yoga is having a prominent 11th house. A popular person will have 2 or 3 planets in the 11th house. It's the Upachya house. So with time, the person's popularity will increase. Now the kind of planets which are there in the 11th house will decide the kind of fame they'll get. They can also be infamous. For example, a chart I studied of a very famous adult film star. So they had Mars and Venus conjunction in the 11th house. So very popular, very popular. So that's kind of a wrong fame, right? But suppose there is Mercury over there. There is Mercury planet influence, Mercury sun over there, but Mercury should not be combusted over here. So such person will be very good CA, chartered accountant. They'll become very famous in their field. The fourth yoga is having a prominent 5th house or an Atma Karaka in 5th house, because 5th house is directly opposite to 11th house. 11th house, I already told, the house of social network and popularity. So 5th house is basically of creativity. Such a person has the capability to convert their hobbies into money making. They can turn their passion into career. Now if some sort of connection, some aspect is made with the 2nd house also, this becomes a really good chart of a famous writer. The writer is very famous. 5th house also represent writing skills, because creativity involves, like fictional writers are also seen through 5th house. And if it makes the connection with the 2nd house, that is the face, the money aspect, so they can make money through hobby, through writing, especially writing, they can make money. If the connection is with the 2nd house, then such people can also earn money through gaming platforms. And usually such writers get famous through some sort of speech involvement. Suppose they give a speech somewhere and that speech gets really popular. Because of that speech, everyone gets attracted to their ideas, and so they start buying their books or their thoughts, their essays or something, and this way the writer becomes popular. So some sort of speech or face value is involved when the 2nd house is involved with the 5th house, and that is also a yoga of popularity or influencing. The 5th yoga is Jupiter or Mercury influencing the ascendant, or in the Kendra house 1, 4, 7 and 10, or having a connection, exchange of houses, Parivartan Yoga. Another very prominent and easily identifiable yoga is the connection of 1st and 7th house, because 1st house is you and 7th house is the public, mass, or business partners. So that also, if there is a connection, there is a huge possibility of the person becoming popular. One or more than one of the yogas, the possibility increases. These yogas which I've discussed are observed in many celebrity charts, influencer charts, or people who are very creative, who generally get copied, or people are really influenced by them or their style or their designs or their arts, like Taylor Swift, who gets copied, and Kim Kardashian, the surgery gets copied, right? And Michael Jackson, the moonwalk, moon is very prominent over here. Victor Hugo, the writing style, the realism he portrayed in French literature, and Marilyn Monroe, the blonde beauty, and K-pop, etc. All these are some of the trend setters who gets easily copied, and these yogas are observed in their charts. Also, the yogas which I've discussed in today's video, these can also be used to understand certain trends, certain waves. For example, there is a connection of Rahu and Mercury. People are more inclined to copy intellectual stuff, like Beatles, the songs get copied at this time, and writings, researches get copied, the intellectual stuff, because Mercury is involved. This same sort of behavior will be observed in a chart of someone who's having a Mercury Rahu conjunction. They'll be more prone to copying intellectual stuff of others. They'll be more interested in, copying other people's intellectual stuff, writing poems, or music or tone, lyrics. All these things they'll be more prone to copying such stuff, because they want to portray themselves as intelligent, that's some sort of pseudo intelligence. And similarly, when there is a connection of Venus Rahu connection, people start copying hairstyles, the sadhana cut, earlier which came. People copy surgeries, people copy similar kind of rhinoplasty or buccal fat removal surgery, or the same hourglass kind of surgery which got really popular. So all these things gets copied when Venus and Rahu is involved. So similarly, when this Venus is retrograde, suppose the Venus is retrograde, trends come back. Like we have earlier, we had in the last year, we had Venus retrograde, when we had the comeback of Y2K fashion, the boot cut fashion, the high rise jeans. All these things, they made a comeback. Apart from that, when Saturn is involved, people are more inclined towards having a perfect structure. They are more, physically enthusiastic, a better jawline. When Saturn is involved, people are more focused towards physical work, minimal aesthetic, sober colors, beige aesthetic, minimalism, all these things, more discipline. Such sort of, trends make a comeback. Another thing I would like to discuss is the affliction of moon. If moon is weak in a chart, then such people are more prone to copying others. A person with a weak moon is easily influenced, easily swayed, so therefore people can easily persuade them. They don't have their own identity. They sometimes also lack self-worth because they're not emotionally fulfilled. So what happens is that they will, they're always looking for the next thing. They cannot stick to their own decisions. Sometimes they also regret their own decisions. And they're constantly looking for the other thing. They cannot stick to one aesthetic also. They're not sure of themselves because they are uncertain. Like the spiritual aspects I discussed, they haven't developed their own identity. People take advantage of such people. When they have a weak moon, people take advantage. Obviously, in a birth chart, other things are also taken into account. So that's not just the only aspect. But usually it is observed when the moon is afflicted, either through Rahu or Ketu. The moon is afflicted. Such people also become highly delusional because of Rahu sometimes, and they can also be superstitious. There's a fine line between spirituality and superstition, and such people have no boundary. They are also more inclined towards the tantric aspect, start believing in more superstitions, they start putting their trust in every other person, every other tantric, so which makes their life haywire. So it is better to work more on their emotional strength, so that not every other person just persuades you and takes your money, take advantage of yours. So these are some of the yogas which I discussed, which are usually found in a popular person's chart or a person's chart who is usually getting copied. Now let's come back to what we can do when we find ourselves in such a situation. So the first thing is, you cannot do anything except bettering yourself. No idea is exclusive. No idea is original. Ideas are born out of ideas. People copy them. People copy and copy and copy. And there comes a day when they can't copy and they have to think on their own. And that's how an original idea comes into being. So an original idea is a byproduct of several copied ideas. Theories are born out of theories. Ideas are born out of ideas. Businesses are born out of existing businesses. So we need to accept the fact and tell yourself whatever you need to tell yourself to make yourself sleep. Because peace is what your goal must be. Peace is more important than the mental competition which you're having with another person for no reason, but just because they are copying you. The second thing is that if a person can create one idea, if you can discover one idea, then there is a huge possibility you can discover more ideas. You can create more ideas. If you can do it once, you can do it again, you can do it many more times, no matter how many times you get copied. So you become that goose who gives golden eggs. So work on yourself and bettering yourself. And the last thing is that the world has more problem because people are not looking at their own lives, rather they're wasting their time looking at others' life more. They call it inspiration and are constantly working to steal someone's identity instead of building their own. Rather than inspiration, it's creating a hostile and envious environment. People are not having abundant mindset. They want what the other person has. But those people who have an abundant mindset, they're running their empires. I mean, why would you want to live someone else's life when you are not them? You can develop your own authenticity. You can work on your own destiny and unlock it. Your destiny can be better than others also. You do not have the patience to wait for your own destiny. You don't know yours can be better than them. People constantly comparing and wanting someone else's life is a major problem. Women want to be men, men want to be women, children want to be adult, and adults want to travel, and no one wants to take responsibility. No one wants to take accountability for their own selves. They're like, it's my parents' fault. My siblings got better because I broke up, because she left, because he left, because I was married early, because I was married late, because I'm not getting married, etc., 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 etc. All are plain excuses because you're not able to address your own pathetic selves and work on yourself. Address your problems, address your negative aspects, introspect. Do what you need to do, care about others, do your dharma, enjoy also, take responsibility of your action also, be accountable for what you're doing, what you're saying to other people, and remember Krishna at all times so that you develop and ask him for guidance to become your authentic self, to become your original self. In the last, I would like to say there is nothing like inspiration if I talk from a humane perspective. If you make a person your inspiration, a human your inspiration, then mostly it comes from a negative aspect because you're putting that person on a pedestal and you're trying to compete with them. There comes a point, every person who has once made another person their inspiration, they usually come and challenge them. Like Gukesh, the chess prodigy, who made Magnus his inspiration. He comes and, Magnus loses. One day or the other, every inspiration becomes a challenge. And so therefore, and then you see, the other person's behavior. Gukesh saw how his inspiration acted. Because we are imperfect. Humans are imperfect and they're not capable of being inspiration to others. Rarely humans are perfect, fit to become an inspiration. God is the inspiration. Krishna is perfect. Follow the footsteps of what he says, not a mere imperfect human being. Now that is a sports example. It's not like, obviously that's a healthy competition. Do not take it otherwise. Do not interpret this example otherwise. But what I meant to say is that sometimes we also, obviously, Gukesh wanted to reach there. So he needed a false icon sort of thing. But not all humans need that false inspiration. You are the inspiration. Krishna is the inspiration. God is inspiration. What the life you want is your inspiration, and that's all. And that's how you develop your own gifts. Hare Krishna.